Okay, this is the part 1, which is the welcome wizard. So the first time, this helpful tool will changing some setting in Raspbian, which is configuration. Okay, after click next button, then you can choose your country, language and time zone by clicking on each drum box in turn right and selecting your answer from the list. Okay, so I use English, so I will click on for English language, then I click next. Okay, we will wait for the setting location. So before that, after this setting location done, the next screen will ask you to change the password for the Pi user from the default Raspberry Pi. So this is the we need to set the password. So it's very good to create the new one. So we need to enter the password in the boxes. Okay, for this part, you can click on the tick next to the hide characters to show the password, which must be the same in the both boxes. So when you're happy with your password, you can click next. Okay, so I have done for my password for my Raspberry Pi. So I will click next. Okay, for this part, you just can click next. Okay, for the next screen will allow you to choose your Wi-Fi network from a list. So I wait for my for my Wi-Fi. So I choose for my own Wi-Fi, and I click it and I click next. Okay, after that it will ask for password for the Wi-Fi. So after you insert the password for the Wi-Fi, you just can click next. Okay, for this part we will wait to connect the wireless network. Okay, for the next screen will allow you to check for and install updates for Raspbian and the other software on the Raspberry Pi. So Raspbian is regularly updated the fixed bugs, add new features and improve performance. So to install this update, just click next. So we just wait to checking for updates. Okay, after that otherwise you can click skip. So this downloading the update can take a several minutes, so we need to wait it. After that when the update are installed, so the window saying system is up to date. Okay, this is the final screen of the welcome wizard. So we can reboot it. Okay, so it's already reboot. So the time the welcome wizard won't appear, its job is done. So your Pi is already to use. So we need to wait until the reboot is done. Okay, for the part 1 is already done.
Okay, so in this part 2 we are going to navigate the desktop. So basically the version of Raspbian installed on most Raspberry Pi boards is also known as a Raspbian with the Raspberry Pi desktop, that referring to its main graphical user interface. So as you can see here, this is a desktop wallpaper, and this one is the program that we open. At the top is the new tab on the taskbar, which is the Chrome that we open, and this one at the top right hand side is the menu but also the system tray. If we have any removable storage such USB memory stick that connected to Pi, we can see the eject symbol. So when we click this, it can allow to safely eject and remove them. On the far right is the clock click, and when we click it, it will bring up a digital calendar. And the next to it is the speaker icon. When we click on it, which the left mouse button to adjust the Pi's audio volume, or by click using the right mouse button to choose which output the Pi we should use. And the next to it is the network icon. If we are connected to a wireless network, we can see the signal strength displayed as a series of bars. And while if you're connected to a wired network, we can just see two arrows. So by clicking the network icon, we bring out a list of nearby wireless networks. And the next one is the Bluetooth icon. When the Bluetooth icon, when we click this, it will allow us to connect to a nearby Bluetooth device. So when we click this, we can see the menu that it shows that we can add, remove, and also find the Bluetooth device nearby. At the left hand side of the menu bar is home to the launcher, which is where we can see the program installed alongside Raspbian. And some of these are visible as shortcut icons, and others are hidden away in the menu, which we can bring up by clicking the Raspberry icon to the far left. As you can see here, this is the icon that we had clicked. This is all the menu. The programs in the menu are split into categories, the names of which tell us to what to expect. The programming category, for example, content software design, to help us to write our own program. And this one is the games that we can play on the Raspberry Pi. So in this part 3 is we want to test the Chromium web browser. So firstly, we are going to click the Raspberry icon, and then we search the internet, and we click the Chromium web browser, and as you can see here, the web browser is open. The Chromium web browser is open, and at the top right is the three title we can see. For the up arrow is to enlarge the browser to fit the whole desktop, and for the arrow down is to minimize which will hide the window, and we can click it again, the window at the taskbar, so it will appear again. And then for the square at the middle is to make it the browser smaller, and for the X is to close the windows. Okay, so we are going to test the Raspberry on the browser. So we are going to search in the address bar www.raspberrypi.org, and then we are going to enter after we enter, the browser will take us to the website of Raspberry, and then so after that we are going to try to search Raspberry Pi, Raspbian, or educational computing. So this one we are search the Raspberry Pi. So it shows a lot of output that we had insert onto the address bar, and this one is the educational computing we trying to search. After we enter, it will load all the related of the educational computing. And this one we are going to search for Raspbian, and this is the output of the title that we insert. It shows, and this one in the new tab. At the new tab, we right click and we choose to close it, and then that's all.
Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Arif. So hari ni saya nak cerita part 4 untuk file manager. So file manager ni macam Windows juga. Dia dah tersedia ada dalam OS ni. So kita boost dia punya OS dalam SD card dekat Raspberry Pi. So dekat Raspberry Pi ni dekat sini. Okey, yang kat belakang tu kita burn dia punya OS. Burn dia. Okey, burn. Lepas tu dia punya port untuk keyboard nak letak USB apa semua kat situ. Okey. Ni adalah file-file yang ada dalam home yang dalam OS Raspberry Pi. Kita tekan. Okey. Okey, dia nak tunjuk kat kita ni dalam Raspberry Pi ni ada macam Windows juga. Ada file-file yang tersedia ada. Kalau kita nak save, auto save, dia akan save dekat sini. Dekat contohlah Windows apa semua, download, dokumen. Dokumen ni kalau kita nak save dia punya file text. Download ni kita source yang dari luar, dari internet kita nak save. Dia akan simpan kat situ. So lepas tu dia boleh save music juga. Kalau kita download music, dia akan direct kat situ. Picture. Lepas tu kita ada public. Dekat public ni kebiasaannya user akan buat password lah. Sebab kebiasaannya orang luar boleh masuk. Lepas tu template dan video. Kat video ni kita nak cari lah dekat first time kita nak masukkan video tu, kat situ lah. Lepas tu apa lagi apa lagi dia nak tunjuk ni? Okey, dah ingat. Dia nak tunjuk kat kita cara nak copy file. Kita buka dia punya ni home. Kita nak letak kat mana? File. Okey. Kita masukkan pendrive dia dekat port yang kosong. Okey. Kita masukkan pendrive. Lepas tu kita buka file pendrive tu. Mula-mula dia akan keluar macam ni lah. Saya akan tunjuk kita dah masukkan pendrive ke dalam OS dia. Kita cuma tekan OK je. Lepas tu kita nak kita nak buka folder file dalam pendrive tu. Okey, dalam folder pendrive tu kita ada semua barang-barang ni. Okey, kita cuma akan copy lab 5 zip tu. Okey, kita boleh guna dengan cara pakai mouse dan keyboard. Okey, dia akan tunjuk kat kita. Ni dia nak cari tempat lah untuk simpan folder tu. Dia akan simpan dekat dokumen saya rasa. Okey. Lepas tu dia copy file dengan drag file tu ke window pakai mouse. Lepas tu dia right click. Saya rasa copy. Lepas tu paste dia pun dia pakai right click juga. Lepas tu dia nak tunjuk cut file tu pakai right click. Cut. Lepas tu dia nak tunjuk copy file dengan Ctrl C. Lepas tu klik dekat folder yang kita nak save, Ctrl V pula. Ni macam basic macam window. So dia akan tunjuk juga cara nak cut file, Ctrl X. Lepas tu Ctrl V juga untuk pastekan dia. Basically lebih kurang Windows. Dia tunggu file dia progress. Okay. Lepas tu kita boleh tutup file tu. Kita nak inject punya pindah dengan selamat. Kejap ya. Tekan dekat paling atas dekat OS tu. Select macam lambang apa tu. Lepas tu klik USB. Lepas tu klik inject. Okay, kita dah selamat inject file. Okay, untuk part 4 kita nak buat untuk LibreOffice. Kita boleh cari LibreOffice dekat Windows atau type je LibreOffice. LibreOffice ni banyak jenis. Dia boleh untuk buat base. Base ni untuk database. Lepas tu untuk calculator, untuk drawing, untuk impress dan untuk Mac. Yang paling banyak kita akan pakai adalah untuk writer tu kita untuk edit dokumen Okey, kita buka. Logically LibreOffice ni dia sama macam Microsoft Word dan Docs. Cuma dalam Linux kita kena pakai ni sebab dia kecil dan free source. Okey, ni adalah menu ke apa orang panggil dekat LibreOffice Writer ni. Kita boleh tukarkan font dia. Macam-macam font ada. Kita boleh besarkan, kita boleh bold, kita italic. Kita boleh tukar warna punya color punya tu, highlight apa semua. Kita boleh juga masukkan image, boleh masukkan table apa semua. Ni dia tunjuk kat kita nak ambil image dekat mana, tapi dia tak letak pun image sayangnya. Lepas tu kita boleh test type dekat ni. Dia lebih kurang works juga. Okey, type my name is. Okey. Lepas tu kita boleh bold dia, membesarkan font. Tukar punya font color, text punya color. Kita boleh save kat dia. So kalau save je, dia akan auto dekat dokumen, auto save dekat dokumen. Lepas tu kalau tak save tempat lain pun boleh juga. Kita buat save as. Kita save. Dia save file.
Click on the Raspberry menu icon on the top left of your monitor. Move your mouse pointer to Preference and click on Recommended Software. Click on a category in plain on the left to see the software. As you can see, a piece of software has a tick next to it. It means it's already installed on your Raspberry Pi. If it doesn't, you can click on the checkbox next to it to add a click and mark it as for installation. You can also uninstall software in the same way. Click on the tick to remove, and then if you're done, you can click OK button to begin the installation or uninstallation process. Next, click on the Raspberry icon, move the mouse pointer to select peripheral category, then click on the Raspberry Pi configuration to load it. As we can see, the tool is split into 5 tabs, each of which can control the particular aspect of Raspberry Pi. As we can see, first system, then display, interface, performance, and lastly localizations. First load is system. We allow to change the password of the account and also set a host name, the name of Raspberry Pi used on our local wireless or wire network. Next, click the interface tab. In this tab, we'll find a range of settings. The setting could only be changed if we want to adding a new hardware such as Raspberry Pi camera module, and only if instructed by the hardware manufacturer. Next, click on a performance tab. In this tab, we can set the amount of memory used by Pi graphic processing unit GPU, and for some module, increase the performance of the Raspberry Pi through the process known as overclocking. This is the best to leave this setting alone unless we need to change them. And finally, click on the localization tab to the last category. Here we can change our local, which control things like language used in Raspberry Pi and how numbers are displayed, can change the time zone, change the keyboard layout, and set the country for Wi-Fi purpose. For now, just click cancel to close the tool without making any change. Thank you.
Okay, so in this last part, we are going to shutting down the Pi. Firstly, we are going to click on the icon of Raspberry and choose the logout button. As we can see here, there's three options, which is shutdown, reboot, and logout. For shutdown, basically it will tell the Raspbian to close all the open software and files, and then it will shut the Pi down. And meanwhile, for the reboot, it goes through a similar process to shut down, it closing everything down, but instead of turning the Pi's power off, it restarts the Pi. And for the logout, for this case, when we had a multiple account on the Raspberry Pi, it will close any program that we currently open and take us to the login screen. So we are going to shut down, means that the Pi is turned off.